You know what I mean?
The interesting thing was there was a very, very, very short amount of time that happened from when Zimmerman last spoke with the cops to when there was the 911 calls from terrified neighbors. Literally, it was an 80-second delay. It was 80 seconds from when he hung up with the policeman before he got out of his car to when the calls were pouring in.
So what happened, I guess, is the question. In that 80 seconds. Yeah, what happened in that 80 seconds? So, you know, and I don't think, because I've experienced the suspicion thing, you know, I've been, like I said earlier in the show, somebody once said to me, I look suspicious, refused to serve me in a restaurant. So, because I know how that feels, I don't think that's enough to go after somebody. Right. You know what I mean? And neighborhood watch doesn't make you God. Doesn't, you know what I mean? I understand, you're trying to protect the neighborhood. Fine, but there's more to this. There's more to this. And
he tries to claim the Stand Your Ground Act. But you can't initiate a confrontation and then turn around and say you're standing your ground. That's what Trayvon Martin's mother's attorney, Ben Crump, said, which is true. And I'm very happy to know, at least, that Trayvon's parents, Tracy Martin and Sabrina Fulton, they're pushing towards the amendment, the Trayvon Martin amendment, that will amend the Stand Your Ground law. Pretty much, as what the lawyers feel, which I feel and a lot of other people feel too, is that as the law stands now, it encourages aggressors to shoot and kill and not leave witnesses. I mean, because they say a person, under the Stand Your Ground Act, a person can use force on somebody if they're in a place where they have the right to be, a public place where they have the right to be, and they have the right to use force on an aggressor if they feel that the person is a threat to them before fleeing. And in certain cases, a person is able to use deadly force, according to the Stand Your Ground Act, if they feel that their life is put in danger before deciding to flee. But I don't think the Stand Your Ground Act is what happened here. At all. I think Zimmerman sought him out, followed him, tormented him, and killed him cold-bloodedly. And even his, Trayvon Martin's girlfriend, she heard like the last couple moments before he was shot. And he said, he kept telling her, this man is following me. He's going to do something to me. And then she told him to run. And then she heard Zimmerman come up to him and say, what are you doing around here? No, and then actually Trayvon asked him, why are you following me? And he said, what are you doing around here? And then she said, the girlfriend said she heard someone like push someone into grass or something, and then the call dropped.
Now, I don't know if you heard the 911 call, but he called, and the dispatcher said, are you following him? And he said, yes. And she said, leave it up to, right there for me, it's like, she said, leave it up to the police.
Right, you don't need to do that. Stop your pursuit.
Right.
He's like, okay.
Yeah.
But he didn't.
Right. I think that's one of the big problems in this case, is he kept going.
He kept going.
And I don't know anything about law, and I don't know specifics, but I just think that, just looking from the outside of this situation and knowing, I'm not taking anybody's side on anything. Obviously, I feel like he's a victim, but, I think if the 911 dispatcher gives you an instruction and you do it anyways, then obviously you're doing it at risk.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, if you're doing what they told you not to do, then you're taking the risk.
It's like you're trying to uphold the law. Like, you know what's better than the police dispatcher is telling you what to do.
Right. So you took it into your own hands. So right there, for taking into a neighborhood watch person is not the police. So no, you're not going to chase somebody down and shoot them. That's not what a neighborhood watch does. You're going to inform the police, and once the police is informed you let it go. That's it. You did your job as a neighborhood watch.
Right.
You did your job. Right. That's it.
You're supposed to watch.
Right.
You're supposed to watch. And I'm just thankful, I'm thankful that the thought of this amendment is even happening, and I hope it does, because they want to make changes to the Stand Your Ground law, which allowed Zimmerman to avoid arrest on the night that he killed Trayvon. I mean, you kill somebody, I mean, it's different, because, you know, the Stand Your Ground law, it gives you, immunity, you know, because it's self-defense. But I don't think this was a self-defense act at all. And if you know, it's self-defense if someone comes into your house and you kill them because they're trying to kill you.
Right, but on the street.
Right.
You know, and he had no weapons. He didn't have a knife, he didn't have a gun, he had no weapons. He had Skittles and some iced tea. So, I mean, how much of a threat was he to George Zimmerman?
Right. And Zimmerman will be facing at least 25 years in prison if he is convicted.
And you think he should be?
I think he should be, absolutely. Absolutely, without a doubt about it. I'm curious to see what he has to say, like on the stand, like for his own testimony, for his own defense position in this case. I'm really just curious to see the BS that comes out of his mouth. I'm going to be disgusted every second of it, but I'm just curious to see what he has to say. I know it's going to piss me off, but are you interested in seeing what he has to say, or are you interested in seeing anything in particular about this case?
Well, an outcome, obviously.
Right.
It's so high profile that there's going to be pressure. So I am interested in hearing what he has to say. I want to know if it makes sense. I want to know if, you know, I feel like if the truth was there, then it would have came out already. Like, you know what I mean? So there's obviously something that they've got to think of. So we'll have to hear the story. I don't know.
Right.
So, you know, there's always two sides to a story or more, 10 sides. But this situation, just from the facts, listening to the tapes, looking at the circumstances, it just seems as if he went too far. Like, you know, he should have just did his job and told the police and went back in his house.
Yes.
I think that's what he should have did at the end of the day.
This whole situation is very sad. It's very tragic. But Trayvon will get his justice, whether it be in this trial, whether it be in this life or in the next. He'll get his justice. Yeah,
and in a weird way, maybe he can help change the system. Maybe his life will lead an example. Will help change things and help the justice system and help the next person that is looked at as being suspicious.
And that Stand Your Ground law should be amended and renamed Trayvon Martin Amendment. I think it's very well-fitting.
And I think we were discussing racism earlier in the show, and you know, a lot of racism has been drawn into this case as well. And there's, you know, and then people argue that he's Spanish, and you know, so I think the fact that it's even being discussed, that people think there might be racism in it, then obviously racism still exists if people feel that way. Even though it may not have anything to do with the case, if people are discussing it, then obviously it's still an issue.
Right. What do you think, just out of curiosity, what do you think fuels racism? Do you think it's more fear, jealousy, lack of knowledge, or just hatred? What do you think? Or do you think it's a mixture of both? Or was there one thing that you think really fuels it?
Well, stereotypes fuel it. Looking at everyone as one. I think we just need to stop and judge everybody individually. But I think what fuels racism? How you grew up, I think, first off. You know, how you were raised. If you were, I don't think you just wake up and become racist. I think that you had to grow up this way. There's something that you were taught. We are all born innocent.
Yeah.
You had to be taught to hate, because nobody just hates. We were all born innocent. If you see my cat, if you see a dog, they don't care if you're Chinese, they don't care. They're raised, you know what I mean? They're raised with that innocence, and that's how babies are raised. They're not raised to hate. You know, I mean, they're not born to hate. That's what I meant to say. So it's what people are taught that make them the way they are.
Yes.